Perfect. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. In today's webinar, we would like to show you our renovated WirisQuizzes Studio, which is our latest release, WirisQuizzes 4.5. My name is Torneiro. I'm the WirisQuizzes product manager, and today I'll be hosting this webinar with our customer success specialist, Jordi Massó. Jordi, I don't know if you want to say hello.
Hi, everyone.
Perfect. So we just released WirisQuizzes 4.5. In this release, we focused mainly on three aspects. First, we improved the performance of the studio. So we know that there were some lags going on, and that when you had to open the WirisQuizzes Studio, especially with graphs and major editor formulas involved, that the studio took some time to open. So we hope that now this is fixed. Secondly, we also focused on improving the user interface. So we know that WirisQuizzes can be a product that can be that's very complex, has a lot of features. So we focused on improving the navigation and the user experience when onboarding a new user into the studio. And thirdly, we also focus on improving the features related to the fill in the blank questions. So we introduced a new feature, the lock initial content in the input options, that allows teachers to leave blank spaces in the the initial content, for the students to then input content solely on these blank spaces without being able to change the initial content. So here we have a before and after. So on the left, you have the WirisQuizzes 4.4, and on the right, you have the newest release, WirisQuizzes 4.5. So as I said before, you can see that we introduced the sidebar navigation, where you can easily navigate between answer types and settings. And you'll also be able to have quick access to our training courses, our website, our feedback survey, and to also send a query to our support team in an easy way. Then we also gave more relevance to buttons such as the initial content and the correct answer, because these are key buttons in the navigation in the WirisQuizzes Studio. And as you can see, we also enlarged the editors. So in this case, the graph editor and the formula editor are now bigger, and you have now a bigger space to edit your graphs and your formulas when making questions with WirisQuizzes. We also introduced a short product notification box where you'll be able to see updates in the versions and quickly access our release notes and documentation, so that you know what's new in the version that you're currently using. As I also said, the lock initial content feature is a new feature that kind of behaves like a fill in the blank question. So it allows you to lock the initial content and leave empty spaces for your student to input their answers. So as you can see in this GIF on the right, this teacher is able to create an initial content and to leave an empty space on the top of the fraction that then the student can edit when answering the question. And the teacher will not be able to edit the content that was there before. So this behaves sort of as a fill in the blank question. You can find this feature under the input options if you then go to the initial content and to this new feature that is called lock initial content. We will have a live demo further on with Jordi and with some live examples so that you can see how it works and behaves. Then one of the important improvements also in this new release is giving importance to your feedback and giving you quick access to support and training. So now in this navigation bar, you can quickly give us your feedback by answering a short survey, and you can also report an issue if you're having any troubleshooting while using WirisQuizzes to our support team. I believe in the series of webinars that we have done so far, we didn't have the time to mention our training program, but WirisQuizzes has 2 training programs technically that are both in English and in Spanish, and you can apply to these or enroll directly in these training programs by contacting us at training@wiris.com. The first program is a regular training, so it is free and it's 8 hours duration. And it's technically a regular course that is self-paced, and you can do it at your own pace in our platform. And then you have the extended training program, which has a cost of 180 euros per user, has a duration that's a bit longer as well, 15 hours. And this one is tutored. So we recommend the extended training program if you have a large organization or institution with multiple teachers, all getting on board on WirisQuizzes at the same time, and that maybe require a more tutored experience while learning the tool. So in this case, this training program is tutored by Jordi, who's in this webinar with us today as well. And you can also access a 60 questions repository. So you'll be able to plug and play with these questions and get started with WirisQuizzes with some help. So now we would like to show you these new features, especially the lock initial content with some examples. And we also want to show you today some examples of grading function. So now I'll pass the word to my colleague, Jordi.
Hi, everyone. I want to share my screen and to show you, as Carolina said, these two examples, like live examples. So we will build them together from scratch. And first of all, I would like you to imagine that you want to create a question asking for the partial fraction decomposition of a given fraction. And we will show you how the fill in the blank feature can enhance these kind of questions comparing with what we used to be able to do. So let's just start webinar 1. Writing the question statement. Here, for example, we want the students to write the partial fraction decomposition of, and I will open MathType, our formula editor, to include the corresponding fraction. Here we are going to create a static question with no randomness. The second question that we are going to create will be random. But now to start, that will be the statement, the same statement for all the students, and we will want them to give the corresponding decomposition for this fraction. We are going to the WirisQuizzes Studio, and as you may know, and as Carolina have said, we have a new interface, and we start defining the initial content. The label for the compound answer will be the same fraction. And as we can block this initial content to make the question simpler for the student and to mark that we want them to answer with two different fractions that are being summed, we can define this structure to, in the correct answer, just define the corresponding values. And if we want to the input option section, we can establish that this content is locked. If we check this option, as you are going to see now, we need to check that we are in a compound answer question. And now if we test the question, you will see that that's what the student will see. He will see the structure in the editor that he has to fill in, and he's not going to be able to erase anything. The student will only complete with this structure. He can write wherever he wants, but he cannot change the structure of the correct answer. So we are forcing the student, and we are indicating that the answer needs to be expressed in this way. And we could also give some clues here, like, okay, we are giving the denominator, for example, wasn't properly saved. But what I mean is that it's possible to define more things besides just the blanks. So if you are interested in giving more details in this initial content, it's also possible, but the main goal is to force these students to answer this way. If we fully save the question, you will also see how they are going to see the question in a quiz. The idea is the same that we have seen in the preview of WirisQuizzes Studio, but they will need to fill the blanks accordingly. So that's the first question, to show you how the fill in the blanks and the lock initial content feature can help you in this kind of question creation. Our second example will be more complex and will show you a new way to use grading functions to take into account several answers that the student have previously answered. So imagine that we are asking the student to build a polynomial giving two of the roots, and then we are asking the student to evaluate this polynomial in a given point. By default, if the student cannot construct the polynomial correctly, even though the polynomial that he constructs is evaluated correctly, the system won't give them any grade. But with a proper grading function, it's possible to take into account the mistakes that the student has done to not penalize it in future sub-questions. So, as I've said, imagine we want the students to find the polynomial of degree 2 with roots. Let me name these roots like A and B. As we are randomizing the question, we want these values to be variables. So we're preceding them with the hashtag, we're referring them with the letter that we're going to define in the CalcMe algorithm. And besides, we want them to calculate the image of the polynomial in another random value, let me call it C. Okay, that would be the statement. So let's define the correct answer, the validation method, and the questions algorithm. As we have said, we are asking for a polynomial P. So we are defining also a variable that will be the solution. And we are also asking them to evaluate this polynomial in the point C. So that will be our labels, and we will also have our answers that we are going to define in the question algorithm. As we want this question to be a compound, we need to check it. And as we want to evaluate both answers distinctly, we're also going to check, uncheck this box. And finally, we need to say that we are going to use a custom grading function to evaluate this polynomial, which we will call GF of grading function. And now it's the moment to create the questions algorithm. We will use the code editor. As all of you may know, we defined a new procedure to define random variables within CalcMe to improve our performance. And we're very happy of the results. So we also encourage you to create your algorithms using this procedure. And it's time to, I will zoom in a little bit because I think that it could be quite difficult to see the algorithm if I don't. So, okay, we're going to define these variables, the root A random between -5 and 5. The other root, I think it's better to make the root different. So we will exclude the previous defined variable. And the point where we want to evaluate that we will also do it different to the previous values. So the result is not 0. So it's not A and it's not B. Okay. And sol1 will be the corresponding polynomial. Easy. And sol2, we only need to evaluate. So 1 in 0.3. Okay, that should be the way to define the random variables and the correct answer. So sol1 is this polynomial, point C is also a variable, and when we evaluate it, we have the corresponding result. So that's it. What do we need to finish the algorithm is to define the corresponding grading function. Let's start defining the partial credits. And we want to check two things. Let's use the programming tools I have here. Begin. Okay, first of all, we're going to ask whether the polynomial that the student have given has the corresponding roots or not. So we want to evaluate it. If we evaluate the polynomial u in point A, it has to be equal to 0. And we also want this polynomial to be 0 when we evaluate it in point B. That's the first requirement to give the first point. So if these requirements are satisfied, we are going to give the student 1 point. That's the first part. Okay, and now as we want to provide the student with some credit if the second answer is okay, independently of the first polynomial, let's imagine that the student hasn't been able to write the correct one, but we want to give some credits if he evaluates his polynomial correctly. So another conditional loop, if we evaluate the polynomial of the student that it's named B in C, it's if the polynomial you evaluated in C, it's equal to B, that's the value that has answered, this second credit will be correct. So we're not taking into account the first mistake. If the first sub-question is wrong, we're not taking it into account, and the student will also have some grade. We just need to return it, credit 1 and credit 2, and that would be all. With this, the question is finished, and we just need to check whether it works correctly or not. I will zoom out again so we can save the changes and just check how this algorithm and how this grading function will make the job for us. First of all, let's answer the question correctly. That was 5, and we evaluated in 1 is -2 plus 6, so -12. Okay, it's working, but what happens if I don't cross the signs? Because I don't remember that I need to do so. And I evaluated in 1, now I have 4 plus -4 is -16. Okay, that's the idea. The polynomial is not correct because I didn't remember to cross the signs, but as the corresponding evaluation is calculated correctly, the student will have also some marks, and that was what we were trying to do. So it's another interesting feature that we wanted to share with you today. And with this, I will finish my presentation. So I give the word back to Carolina.
Thank you so much, Jordi. I see that we have some questions already. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat and we will answer them in just a short period of time. So we will have an open space for answering all your questions, especially if you have questions with these exercises that Jordi just presented. Thank you so much, Jordi. Another news that we would also like to give you is that now we are also LTI 1.3 compatible by LMS Global. So we were already compatible with LTI 1.1 standards, and now we're also compatible with LTI 1.3. Why did we decide to be compatible with LTI 1.3? Because it's currently a standard in the market that ensures the most up-to-date privacy and security models. And also because with this, by being able to integrate not only the LTI 1.1, but the LTI 1.3, we are now also able to integrate with many other platforms besides the ones that we already know currently very well, such as Moodle, Canvas, and Blackboard. So if your institution is using specific platforms that are LTI 1.3 compatible, please contact support@wiris.com and we will be able to support you with an integration. So to integrate with WirisQuizzes LTI, you just have to be certified for LTI 1.1 and LTI 1.3 and certified specifically for deep linking and assignments and grade services. We are also currently providing some support for the migration. So for our current clients that have LTI 1.1 and want to move to LTI 1.3, feel free to also contact us at support@wiris.com and we will be able to follow up with some support. Perfect. So as usual, we would also like you to present the releases that we will be working on for the following months. So we just released WirisQuizzes 4.5. We will continue doing some bug fixing, but we will focus our main efforts in this big release, which will be WirisQuizzes 5.0. So for this release, we will continue focusing on improving the performance. So we really want WirisQuizzes to be a tool that is not only able to help you in your tasks and assignments for your classroom, but also for major exams at the end of the school year with lots of concurrent students. So we are aiming at improving the performance of our studio with a new API to support you to have many students accessing these exams made with WirisQuizzes. Secondly, we will also improve our random variables features. So we know that, as you've seen now with the CalcMe sheet, you are able to set very complex random variables from very complex to very basic with this CalcMe sheet. But we want to provide you with a quick mode so that you can easily create dynamic questions with these random variables. So apart from having this pro mode with the CalcMe sheet, the algorithm line, you will also be able to access a quicker way of creating basic random variables for creating fast dynamic questions for your classes. And apart from this also, we would like you to give you the power to also customize the math type toolbar. So right now we provide you with the standard, more complete math type, but we know that you possibly also have students that maybe are in a younger segment and maybe are not so interested in the full complex functionalities of math type. So if you have a classroom that you are basically just focusing on, for example, doing subtractions, multiplications, divisions, you'll be able to also have a math type toolbar that is as basic as you wish it to, you desire it to be. So these will be our three key improvements, but we will also do some further bug fixing, and we're also open to your feedback. So if you have any suggestions for our future releases, not only related to WirisQuizzes, but to CalcMe, we're also open to your feedback and to include them into our roadmap. So I believe now we can open the conversation to your questions. I think I can answer the first one. Hi, Jordi and Carolina. I was wondering if you have done some improvements in the CalcMe editor. Hi, Luciano. We have made some small improvements throughout this year, and we have planned some more improvements especially for next year. But if you have any specific feature that you would like to see for the CalcMe editor, since now we are mostly focused on this WirisQuizzes 5.0, If you have any troubleshooting or suggestion for new features, again, feel free to email us at support@wiris.com or to me and Jordi, and we will take it into account and give you a proper response to your suggestions. Then we have another one also from Luciano saying, one more question. Consider that I create a question with decimal numbers, each with different significant cipher. How can I implement this in WirisQuizzes? Thank you in advance. Jordi, maybe you can answer this one.
Yeah, I think that you are, Luciano, are asking for a question that values doesn't have the same number of significance figures in Calmi. For the moment, the Calmi settings apply globally. So all the values that we are generating in the algorithm have the same values. And the validation method that is defined in the validation options section, it's also applying to the whole question. It's possible to create a custom grading function, take into account different tolerances for each sub-question of a compound, but by default, all the values needs to have the same number of significant figures or two decimal places when we output them in the statement. Maybe I haven't answered properly what you were requiring. So if it's not, just ask again and I will try to do it better.
Thank you, Jordi. Then we have another question also from Victor saying, regarding second example, assume that there is no randomization. Assume as well that in the calc.me part of the algorithm for testing, we can call the GF function with both arguments right, so that both credit 1 and credit 2 get the value 1. Finally, assume that in answering the quiz, if a student's answer is wrong, will she get a 0 mark or both ones?
Yeah, this is a situation that we have faced several times, and we may document it better. But if we test the grading functions in the calc.me sheet, the credit variables gets the value 1, and if we don't reset this value to 0, it will be stored as 1. So any wrong answer for the student won't be rejected because we finished the calc.me algorithm with this credit for the variables that will give the grade. So it's necessary to reset it or to delete the test that we have done to check whether it works or not. And that's the way to don't have this problem when validating this kind of questions.
Perfect. Then we have a question regarding our accessibility from Paul. Currently, our equation questions, our equation features are fully accessible. What comes to our graph features, at the moment, they are not fully accessible, but this is also something that we would like to look at for next year and include in our roadmap to make the graph features also accessible.
Yeah, they want me to show again the algorithm for the grading function.
So exactly.
Just
if you could, Jordi.
Yeah, of course. And if maybe the time while I'm showing it, it's not enough, you can just, well, the webinar, I think that will be is being recorded and we will send you the link later, or you can write us at support@wiris requesting for the corresponding question. So we have no problem in sharing this content, but anyway, I will show it again. So you can take a deeper look to the, and I will zoom in because without zooming, I think you won't see anything. Well, too much maybe. Yeah, here it goes. And I think we can keep asking other questions while Bilal checks the algorithm.
There's also a follow-up question from Victor saying, hence we better define the credit variables locally, right?
Yeah, it's another option to define it locally, and this problem won't arise anymore. Yeah. And
Perfect.
Luciano is also requesting for a concrete example that I can send. And if you email me, or you email support@Wiris asking for it, I can answer you with the corresponding example with no problem. Yeah.
Perfect. We also have a question from Emilia asking if does WirisQuizzes automatically update the new releases? Is there extra cost for the updates? Emily, maybe you can let us know which version you are currently in, but updating to new versions is free. You need to contact your LMS admin for these updates, and I guess it would depend on the type of integration that you have. But if you have a Moodle integration, it is fairly easy, and also cost free. So so yeah, let us know of which version do you have or what is your profile if you're LMS admin. But yes, that would be the normal procedure for updating to a new version of WirisQuizzes.
I have to zoom out. Sorry, Bilal. I, and Karen, I see that Paul also asks if the graph features will be accessible in the next version.
Yes, in this next version, we are currently looking at redoing the API and focusing more on math type and random variables improvements. But as I said, for future releases, this is something that we have planned, but not currently for the 4.0 release now.
Luciano is also asking if previous developments will continue working with this release. Of course, we are backwards compatible, so every new release that we deploy will respect old questions and old features. So you don't need to worry about updating the plugin.
Exactly. And every content that you have made with the older version, also now that we're going to update for WirisQuizzes 5, if you have done something with this new version, WirisQuizzes 4.5, you'll be able to use that content and redo it with a new editor and with better features. We also have a follow-up question from Victor.
Yeah, we're still investigating this issue because we haven't been able to reproduce it yet. We have seen that you experienced it, and we see the problem in your platform, but we're trying to reproduce at our end to see if there is any pattern or if this is a punctual problem that we need to solve locally. So we are still investigating it. And I'm sorry, but we cannot give you an answer yet of what's going on. Hola, Víctor. Sí.
I don't know, Jordi, if you want to show any other additional feature with the algorithm line, or I'm not sure if this is enough for the people that were having further questions related to the algorithm line.
Yeah, I think it's, well, I don't have anything in mind that we can show given the shared questions. So I would prefer to invite all the teachers that are here to share your other requests through email if you have any concern or you want to see any algorithm that you are trying to create and you're not succeeding. we are more than happy to have you through our support email. So I think it would be easier for me.
Perfect. Well, as part of is also our mission to collect more feedback from you and to be able to create a tool that fits your needs and that goes against what you want to do with WirisQuizzes. I'm just going to share here a quick survey that you don't need to answer now. You can, exactly, thank you. So this survey is to collect your feedback. You can also give suggestions on features and further improvements that you would like to see in WirisQuizzes. And again, feel free to always email us at support@wiris.com with your suggestions, issues, and proposals for the future of WirisQuizzes. Perfect.
Yeah,
Emilia.
Yeah, don't worry, Amelia. If you get the answer later, just well, I'm saying it lots of time, but you can email us with the question you had, and we have a support team that will answer you in shortly. So don't worry about it. Yeah,
Yes,
Fanny,
we missed
you
this
missed this
question.
question, Fanny. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm aware you shared several months ago some content. We're not updating it because we need to rethink how we want STEM collection to work, because as you may see, the interface is old, and we need to rethink the STEM collection project. So we have your questions stored for when we update it, but we're not going to do it soon.
Perfect. So we recommend you that you update and that you contact your LMS admin to be able to update to this newest version of WirisQuizzes. And again, any feedback, any issues, we're here to help. So even if you have troubles updating to this newest version, you can contact us at support, and we will be able to help you as soon as possible. I believe there's no more questions. Perfect. So I think we can end it here, and we hope to see you soon again in the next